in a calm and empathetic tone. In this quiet corner of the world, every sound carries a story. The soft barking, the occasional whimper, the rustle of blankets. It's the language of longing and hope. Among them is Max, a scruffy, gentle soul with eyes that hold a world of quiet patience. For months, he's been here, watching as others leave with their new families, their tails wagging as they step into a new life. Each morning, Max wakes up with the same quiet optimism, greeting the day with a tentative wag of his tail. As visitors pass his kennel, he rises, his gaze full of hope, silently asking, "Is it my turn today?" But when they move on, his tail lowers, and he settles back down, his head resting on his paws. Max's story is one of resilience, of unwavering faith that one day, someone will see beyond the bars and into his heart. What he doesn't know is that today is no ordinary day. Today, his life is about to change forever. In a reflective tone, Max wasn't always here. There was a time when he knew the warmth of a home, the sound of laughter, and the feeling of belonging. But life has a way of changing suddenly. One day, Max found himself lost, wandering the streets, searching for familiar faces that were no longer there. Days turned into nights, and the world became a blur of unfamiliar places and empty sidewalks. When the shelter found him, Max was tired, hungry, and unsure of what would come next. In the shelter, Max quickly became a favorite among the staff. His gentle nature and soulful eyes made him stand out. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the smiles and pats on the head began to feel routine. Every time a family walked past his kennel, Max would sit up straighter, his tail wagging in hopeful anticipation. But each time, they would move on, choosing another dog instead. Max would return to his spot on the blanket, sighing softly, but never losing that spark of hope. Despite it all, Max remained the same, a kind and patient soul, quietly waiting for his turn. He didn't bark for attention or demand it. He simply waited, as if he understood that the right person would come along when the time was right. The shelter was his temporary home. But deep down, Max held on to the belief that somewhere out there, someone was waiting for him too. In a warm, uplifting tone. It started like any other day for Max. The sun filtered through the small windows of the shelter, and the soft hum of activity filled the air. Max lay quietly on his blanket, his ears twitching at the familiar sounds of footsteps and voices. But then, something was different. A family walked in. A mom, a dad, and a young child whose laughter echoed down the hall. They moved from kennel to kennel, pausing to look at each dog, their voices filled with warmth and curiosity. As they approached Max's kennel, he sat up, his tail wagging slowly, cautiously. His eyes met the child's, and for a moment, it was as if time stood still. The child leaned closer, pointing at Max with a look of pure delight. "Can we meet him?" the child asked, their voice filled with excitement. The parents exchanged a glance, smiling, and nodded to the shelter worker. Max tilted his head, watching as the latch on his kennel door clicked open. His heart raced, but he stayed calm, his gentle nature shining through. In the playroom, the family sat down on the floor, and Max hesitated for a moment before stepping forward. The child extended a small hand, and Max sniffed it cautiously before giving it a gentle lick. His tail wagged a little faster now, and he couldn't help but lean into the child's touch. Laughter filled the room as Max began to relax, his personality starting to shine through. The family laughed as he rolled over, inviting belly rubs, and wagged his tail so hard it seemed like it might never stop. This was different. This felt like more than just a visit. This felt like a beginning. In a soft, reflective tone. At first, Max didn't fully understand what was happening. He saw the shelter worker smiling as they handed the family a stack of papers. The child held tightly to his leash, talking excitedly about all the things they'd do together. Max looked from one face to another, his tail wagging hesitantly, unsure of what it all meant. But then, something shifted. As the family began gathering his new belongings, a shiny red collar, a soft blanket, and a bag of toys, Max seemed to realize this wasn't just another walk or play session. This was something bigger. The family led him toward the door, and Max hesitated, glancing back over his shoulder at the shelter he had called home for so long. The staff waved goodbye, some with tears in their eyes, others smiling proudly. Max wagged his tail as if to say thank you, and then he stepped forward, his paws hitting the warm pavement outside. The sunlight felt different on his fur, the air fresher, and for the first time in a long time, the world seemed full of possibilities. In the car, Max sat in the back seat with the child, his head resting gently on their lap. The wind whipped through the open window, and Max couldn't help but stick his nose out, taking in the unfamiliar but exciting sense of his new beginning. There was a sense of peace in his eyes now, a calm he hadn't felt in months. Max didn't know exactly where they were going, but in that moment, it didn't matter. What he did know was this: he was no longer alone. In a heartfelt tone, as the car pulled into the driveway, Max sat up, his ears perked, and his tail wagging softly. He didn't know what to expect, but the excitement in the air was contagious. The child opened the door and gently led Max out, his paws touching the grass of his new yard for the first time. He paused, sniffing the air, and then began exploring, his tail wagging faster with each discovery. A ball was tossed, and Max chased it, his movements full of joy and freedom. For the first time in what felt like forever, Max ran, not out of fear or confusion, but out of pure, unfiltered happiness. Inside the house, the family introduced Max to his new space. A soft bed with his name embroidered on it sat in the corner of the living room, surrounded by toys he could hardly believe were all his. He sniffed the bed cautiously, then plopped down onto it with a contented sigh. The child laughed and sat beside him, scratching behind his ears as Max closed his eyes, leaning into the touch. It was as if he knew. This wasn't just a house. This was home. That evening, Max joined the family on the couch, his head resting on the dad's lap while the mom gently stroked his back. The child leaned against him, their laughter filling the room as a movie played in the background. Max's eyes, once filled with uncertainty, now sparkled with a quiet peace. He glanced around at his new family and gave a soft, happy sigh. This was what he had been waiting for, a place where he belonged, where he was loved, and where he was finally, truly home. In a warm, serene tone, the first morning in his new home was like a dream. Max woke up to the soft glow of sunlight streaming through the windows, the smell of breakfast wafting through the air, and the quiet sounds of his new family beginning their day. He stretched on his cozy bed, wagging his tail as the child came running over to greet him. "Good morning, Max," they said, scratching behind his ears. Max's tail thumped happily against the floor as if to say, "Good morning to you too." Outside in the yard, Max explored every corner with renewed curiosity. The grass felt cool beneath his paws, and the breeze carried new scents he eagerly sniffed out. The family joined him, laughing as he bounded after a ball, his energy boundless. The child cheered every time he brought the ball back, and Max wagged his tail with pride, enjoying the game more than he ever thought possible. He wasn't just playing fetch, he was building memories. As the day went on, Max followed his new family everywhere. He watched as they cooked, sitting patiently in the kitchen and curled up at their feet while they read or watched TV. Every moment felt like a gift, a reminder that he wasn't alone anymore. The little things, a pat on the head, a kind word, a soft blanket, were all signs of love Max had been longing for. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Max lay in the backyard with his family, the warm glow of string lights above them casting a golden hue. The child rested their head on Max's side, whispering softly, "We're so happy you're here." Max sighed contentedly, his tail wagging slowly as he looked up at the stars. He didn't need words to express what he felt. His wagging tail, his relaxed posture, and the light in his eyes said it all. Max was finally where he was meant to be. In a reflective, heartwarming tone. As the days turned into weeks, Max's life blossomed into something he had only ever dreamed of. The once shy, uncertain dog now woke up every morning with boundless energy, eager to embrace the adventures of the day. Walks through the neighborhood became his favorite routine, each step an opportunity to explore, sniff, and greet new friends. His tail wagged so often, it seemed as though it might never stop. In the evenings, Max became the heart of the family. Whether it was snuggling on the couch during movie night or lying peacefully by the fireplace, he always found a way to be close to the ones he loved. The child would often lay beside him, whispering secrets into his ear, and Max, as if he understood every word, would gently nuzzle them back. He wasn't just a pet, he was family. Max's joy was contagious, spreading to everyone he met. At the park, his playful energy drew in other dogs and their owners, turning every outing into a celebration of connection and happiness. His new family couldn't help but marvel at the transformation. A dog once hesitant and quiet had become a beacon of love and trust. One evening, as Max lay on his favorite spot on the couch, his family gathered around him. The child leaned in close, wrapping their arms gently around him, and whispered, "You're the best dog in the world, Max." His eyes closed, his tail wagged softly, and in that moment, everything felt perfect. For Max, this wasn't just a happy ending. It was a beautiful new beginning, filled with love, belonging, and the simple joy of being home. In an encouraging and heartfelt tone, Max's story is one of hope, a reminder that every dog in a shelter is waiting for their chance to feel loved, to belong, and to be part of a family. But Max is just one of many. Every shelter, in every town, is filled with dogs just like him, some shy, some playful, all with hearts full of love, just waiting for someone to see them. Across the country, thousands of dogs are hoping for a second chance, and you could be the one to give it to them. Whether you're looking for a loyal companion, a playful partner, or a new best friend, shelters are filled with incredible animals ready to join your family. By choosing adoption, you're not just changing their life, you're changing yours too. Max found his forever home because someone took a chance on him, and now his life is filled with the love and joy every dog deserves. But the truth is, your future best friend might still be waiting for you, sitting quietly in a kennel, hoping today is their day. Visit your local shelter, open your heart, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find the missing piece of your family. Adopt. Don't shop. Change a life. Because, as Max's story shows us, the love you'll receive in return is immeasurable. The screen fades to a simple, powerful message. Adopt. Don't shop. Find your forever friend today.